everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a stamping video that was requested by some of you here. So I split this video up into 4 different sections. The first one being about your prep and maintenance of your stamping tools. The second being about stamping polish and how it differs from regular nail polish. The third section is about your station setup and how you can get into the rhythm of stamping. And then the fourth section is just some demos of stamping. And I did leave timestamps down below so that you can jump throughout the video to find the section that you are looking for. So I wanted to start off by first talking about maintenance and upkeep of your stamping products. So when you first get your stamping plates, they are actually going to come with this like blue protective layer over it, and I just pulled out one of mine that I haven't used yet, so it still has the layer over it for demonstration purposes. And this layer actually needs to be removed. It's just to protect the plate from it being scratched and getting, ruined while it's being made and sent over to you, but by the time you're ready to use it, this needs to come off. And I'm just using some sharp tweezers because it's hard for me to grip the corner with my gloves on. And now that your plate is ready for use, I would suggest not using acetone to clean the plate. I do see people using acetone, but I suggest keeping acetone away from your plate and your stamping products in general. Regular acetone-free nail polish remover works fine. It works great actually, and it's the best way to clean your plates. I just use some of that with a lint-free wipe to clean off the plate between uses. Now, when it comes to your stamper, whether it's from a brand like Clear Jelly Stampers, this one is, or any of the cheaper ones that you can get on Amazon or of these other places, I guess the clear stamping is pretty much the standard these days. I definitely suggest do not use acetone on your stamper to clean it. It will eat away at the jelly, it will ruin it, it will scratch it, nick it, you'll have rips, and if you do have a pricey one like from Clear Jelly Stamper, it's going to be really sad when your stamper gets ruined. The best way to clean a stamper is with a lint roller, really cheap, get these from Dollar Tree, and the stickiness actually helps clean off any dust, any extra polish, anything that gets stuck on your stamper. So definitely don't use acetone, it will ruin your stamper. I also see people sometimes buffing their stamper with like a buffer to mattify it. I'm not really sure why people are doing that. I don't suggest it. Again, you risk ripping and ruining it, and I don't really see what the use of that is. I'm not really sure why people do it. I don't suggest it. It's not necessary. Your stamper will work perfectly fine without that. If you know why people are doing that, let me know. I find it completely unnecessary, and I do not suggest doing so. And now let's move on to polish. Now, stamping polish is quite unique. The ones I have here are from Clear Jelly Stamper, but you do not need to get the most expensive stamping polish to make it work. I know there are other brands like Born Pretty and other places that have quality stamping polish, but you do want to make sure you're using a stamping polish for your stamping. While it is a regular polish in the sense that it does not need to be cured like gel, it is very different from, the regular polish that you put on your nails like Essie, OPI, any of these other brands, in the sense that they are very thin in consistency, and therefore they dry very quickly, and that is kind of the point of stamping polish. Now, because they dry very quickly, you do have to move fast, and that is usually the biggest issue when it comes to stamping is speed. You really have to build up your speed. And stamping polish needs to be fast drying because when we take the polish onto our plate and then pick it up with our stamper, when you go down to stamp it on your nail, whether it's your own nail or a fake nail, as you can see, the stamper gets a little smushed, and that's exactly what we need. However, if you have regular polish that is not stamping polish and you are putting it on the stamper and pressing it down, because it's not dry and it usually takes a while to dry, it will just smudge. As soon as you place it down, the stamper will actually smudge your design and then it won't transfer over nicely. And that's why gel actually does not work with stamping at all. Gel just beads up on the stamper and won't transfer whatsoever. So stamping polish and getting a quality one, again, it doesn't have to be expensive, but getting a quality stamping polish is the key to good stamping. When it comes to picking up your image from your stamping plate, there are 2 techniques you can use. You can either stamp straight down like this and lift up and pick up the image like that, or what I prefer and what I find to be more effective is doing the roll. So it's a twisting movement, twisting from your wrist, and doing a rolling motion like that, I find that that just picks up the images more cleanly, especially when you have images like this that are like kind of like deep wells and not detailed. I find that just the straight down stamping motion like this doesn't pick up images like that have like a lot of open space. And I find that the rolling technique is actually more helpful, especially for that situation. But of course, find what works for you. If you find that stamping down works better, if you find that rolling works better, do what works for you, do what's best for you. Those are just two of your options. And now I want to talk about rhythm of polishing and how your setup will contribute to your rhythm. Like I mentioned before with stamping polish, it is very fast drying, and that means you have to be fast moving, which means having a clean, neat setup and having everything exactly where you need it is going to play a big role, because the less time you need to move around your space, the faster your image will be transferred over onto your nail, the less time in between picking up and stamping down. So I'm just going to zoom out the camera a bit and excuse a little bit of the mess, but I do want to show you what my setup looks like when I am stamping. So I do stamp on like a piece of paper. You can see over here a bit of mess over here, because stamping can sometimes get a bit messy. So I like stamping on here so I don't ruin my table. And the way I like to do it, over here is the edge of the table. So I like leaving my scraper card right here at the edge of the table so I can grip it just like that. When I leave it over here, sometimes it's hard to pick up. If you're wearing gloves, especially when I have long nails, it's hard to grip. And the more time I spend fumbling trying to pick this up, the faster the polish is drying on the plate, the less it will work. So I like placing it here, my stamper here, I have the polish and the nail, and that's how I like to work. We don't want to waste any time when we're stamping, so I don't waste any time with opening and closing the stamping polishes. I just leave them open, and then as soon as I'm done using it, I place down the lid, and I don't even worry about closing it, because as the seconds tick by, the polish is drying. So I place down the product, place down the polish, place the lid back in there, don't even worry about it. Pick up my scraper right here, that's at the edge of the table, so it's easy for me to lift. Scrape, lift, place, and my nail is right here ready to go. And I've seen other people do situations where they hold both of these products in their hands, the scraper and the stamper, and they scrape and stamp one right after the other. But then you have to put down the scraper to pick up your nail, or to place it down your hand, wherever you're stamping on. So it really depends on where you are losing time. If you're losing time by using both hands like that, in that smooth motion, then you might want to put your scraper here, so that you're picking it up, scraping, placing it down. And it all depends on really what works best for you. I like using my right hand because I am a righty. I like using my right hand for everything. So I place down the polish with my right hand. I scrape, lift, and then I like placing it like so. I find that if I am scraping or picking up the stamp with my left hand, I don't get as smooth of a scrape. So sometimes the polish doesn't distribute as evenly. So I like using my right hand for everything, which means my scraper is here, my stamper is here, and everything is one smooth motion like so. So having your setup in a way that benefits you and works for you as opposed to you working for it is going to make a big difference in your speed, which is what we're looking for here. We need speed and we need precision. I've zoomed back in so you can see clearly what I'm doing. I have my nail here and I have everything set up. Now, before we go into stamping, I do also want to mention that the surface you're stamping on is going to make a big difference in how your stamps transfer over. Over here, I have a matte nail. Matte nails, you need to be really quick with, because there's no stickiness, no grippiness, nothing. So if your polish dries on here, it will not transfer over. And I want to do a demo with that and with a non-matte nail, just so we can see the difference. So I am stamping on top of gel. This is gel polish with a gel matte top coat, and this is gel polish. The white one is gel polish with no top coat, and it has not been wiped, so it is still tacky from the lamp. So here is my demonstration on why speed is really important. So we've got placing down the product, placing down the stamping polish, scrape, lift with the roll. And I'm gonna let it sit here for a second, just to show you how fast it dries, and to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? To demonstrate, I guess, the speed. So it's been sitting here for a couple of seconds. I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit. And it's drying this whole time. It dries super, super fast. It's probably dry already, but for the sake of demonstration, I want to make sure I really get the point across. Isn't that a fun design? So I let the polish sit for a couple of minutes just so I can make sure that my demonstration goes as planned. But let's try to stamp this now that it's been sitting here and dried onto a matte nail. Just make sure that it's lined up the way I like it. Make sure you can see. And as you can see, it barely transferred, just that tiny little bit over there, and that's already starting to peel up because it's so dry. So that's definitely not the result we're looking for. And if you are stamping on top of regular nail polish and you are taking too much time, this is likely the result that you are receiving or something similar to it, where the image is not transferring over fully. And that's due to a lack of speed. And unfortunately, this is the kind of process that needs to be done quickly. And that's why making sure your setup is the way you like it and learning your flow and getting into the rhythm of stamping will play a huge role. However, let's see what it looks like when you stamp on top of a tacky layer. So this is gel polish that has been cured. There is no top coat. It still has its tacky layer from being cured. And although this has been drying for, quite some time now, as we can see, of course, there's going to be a bit missing that got stuck on the other nail, but that transfers over really beautifully. So if you are struggling with speed, this tacky layer can actually work to your advantage if you are stamping on top of gel polish. So if speed is something you're struggling with, this might be a good tip. If you are, however, stamping on top of regular nail polish that does not have a tacky layer, I'm going to suggest putting a base coat, like a regular nail polish base coat, between your nail polish and then stamping on top of that. And hopefully that will have a bit of a sticky layer for you to grip to if speed is what you're struggling with. However, I don't actually have any experience with that myself. I'm just making an educated guess and assumption on how those products might work. But if you are still struggling with that and it's not working and putting a base coat is not helping, then the speed is what you're going to have to work on. So now that I've gotten this little demo out of the way and hopefully covered why you might be having issues with transferring your stamp or your stampings onto the nails, I'm going to go into some demos where I am going to just show you my process just multiple times over and over again with different designs, make it a little fun so that you can see how getting into the rhythm is really what's going to be key here. So now I am going into some real-time demos over here. So this is how fast I work. I have not speeded up this video, not slowed it down in any way. This is my speed. And you can see that while I am moving quickly, I am not rushing to the point of knocking things over and getting in my way. I'm just making sure to be efficient and precise in my stamping. And that is really just the key here. Make sure that your setup is working for you, not against you, making sure everything is within reach, and then just going through the motions steadily, efficiently, and not too aggressively, but also, relatively quickly so that the polish doesn't dry on the stamper. And over here on this nail, because it was very long and the image I picked up wasn't large enough, I just go in with a second layer. And as you can see here, I like filling up the whole design with the polish. I see some people only, fill a part of it and then use the scraper to fill in the rest of the design. For me personally, I've just found that sometimes I won't have enough polish to cover the whole design, and then when I go to pick it up with the stamper, part of the image is missing because there wasn't enough polish on the plate. So for me, I just like filling in the whole design. I just make sure, that just helps me make sure that the whole design gets picked up and nothing gets left behind. And here is that fun design. Love it. And just using some acetone-free nail polish remover and a lint-free wipe to clean the plate, and as you can see, it works perfectly. Moving on to the next design here, I wanted to do a fun little plaid design because it is almost September, and that means it's almost autumn, and autumn is my absolute favorite season. I am so excited. So to get into the autumn spirit, I wanted to do a cute little fun plaid design. And it's the same concept here, filling up the whole design with the stamping polish, scraping, placing, not taking too much time in between, but also making sure that everything is the way I like it before stamping it down. So we don't want to make a mess, we want to be efficient. here I had a bit of a small mess up, nothing too crazy, but I wanted to make sure to leave this in the video to just help demonstrate how quickly the polish can dry. So I'm going in with this purple stamping polish over here, and right now I realized that I forgot to clean off my stamper in between the pink and the purple, so I go to clean it off on the lint roller, and now when I go to pick up the purple, it has completely dried on the stamping plate, which is no big deal because it dried on the stamping plate, and I'm just going to clean it off like you can see right here and redo it. But that was just a great demonstration that I felt was important to leave in the video so that you can see that it does really dry very quickly. So there I was just making sure that the plate was dry, and now going in, making sure that my stamper was clean of polish before going in, and now it's going to pick up perfectly. So I just wanted to leave that little demo in there so you can see the process and know that little mess ups are easy enough to fix so long as you catch them in time. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope I covered some issues that you might have been experiencing while stamping. Let me know if you have any other questions down in the comments below, and I will get to as many as I can. I hope you enjoy the rest of these little stamping demos right here. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!